informative talk indeed. Now, with this background of your antenatal steroid knowledge, we proceed to a very interesting panel discussion, which is going to be moderated by Dr. Jyoti Bhaskar. I think she needs no introduction. She's a senior gynecologist in East Delhi. She works at Apollo Cradle, Indirapuram, and she's going to moderate the panel. And the panelists are going to be Dr. Jyoti Agarwal. Dr. Jyoti Agarwal is a senior gynecologist in East Delhi Life Care Center, and she's an IVF specialist too. She was the past president of DGF East. And the second panelist is Dr. Meenakshi Sharma. She's another gynecologist from East Delhi, and she is present secretary of DGF East. And Dr. Poonam Lal, our new secretary of DGF West, is going to be the other panelist. Dr. Moulshri Gupta, she is a fetal medicine specialist and working at CK Birla. So I hope, and I'm going to be adding on, I'm going to be chipping in between. So I think I invite Dr. Jyoti Bhaskar to start the panel. Dr. Jyoti, welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Archana. First of all, I would like to congratulate you for taking over as a president of the DGF West and for the whole team. And I would like to really say to Dr. Seema that Dr. Seema, the pioneer, the founder one, is the most important person, because you have laid the foundation. And the foundation that you have laid, the rest are going to build. And if it's a strong foundation as you have laid, I'm sure the building is going to be extremely strong, and West is going to really shine in the whole of the DGF. So congratulations to each and every one. So with that, I will go on to my presentation. I hope I'm able to get that. Just a minute. Panel discussion is to really underline whatever Neha has said. So in case anyone had been caught sleeping, they can really take the real take-home messages. So with this Google Meet, I'm not able to see any one of my panelists. So if anyone really wants to put in something apart from the one who's been given the question, you need to just speak out from your own side. And so we're going to be starting with the antenatal. I think there's a background noise. Someone, Dr. Archana, I think it is yours.
Dr. Jyoti,
can you just mute me?
Dr. Jyoti, a suggestion please, if you don't make F5 or a full screen, then you can see all the panelists. I can see all of you.
You can see me,
see the screen as well as all the panelists also.
So if I don't make a full screen, you mean to say?
Yeah. Can you do?
So just like I press F5 then, huh? Just
F5 means, Dr. Jyoti?
1 minute, मैं फिर से stop sharing करके let me try it again. That we're going to discuss today. The fact that preterm birth has emerged as a leading cause of neonatal death. India tops among the list of 10 nations which contribute about 60% of the world's premature deliveries. Out of all the 27 million births that take place, 3.5% are preterm. 3 lakh babies die because of the complications. And remind you, this does not include the babies born less than 28 weeks. So what is the role of us obstetricians? We have 2 roles. One is to prevent the preterm births as much as possible. And second is to decrease the complications of the preterm birth. And when you're talking of decreasing the complications of the preterm birth, that is where the role of antenatal steroids come. So a single course of antenatal steroids for pregnancies between 24 to 30 weeks, 4 weeks of gestation, for women who are at risk of preterm delivery within the next 7 days. That is considered as a standard of care by all the international bodies, be it RCOG, ACOG, WHO, FIGO, or even the FOGSI in India. So keeping this in particular mind, which Neha has already said, we have just a very simple case-based discussion. I think we're taking up cases that we tend to actually address day-to-day basis. And starting with the first case, which Dr. Jyoti Agarwal is going to really take and give us the message. She's a gravida 2, para 1. She's had a previous term.
Your slides are not moving, Dr. Jyoti.
Are they not? Where am I stuck?
I think it's slide 3. I don't know about others. On my computer.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's on standard of care only.
It's not moving. It's on slide 3.
Okay, so I've just
Ma'am, you double click on the slide and then you use your arrow to move up and down.
Is it now visible?
No,
No,
make it a full screen.
It is full screen from my side.
No, it's not.
No, it's not full screen.
It's not full screen.
Okay, I'll just stop sharing and come back. I don't know what's happening. So just a minute, because somehow with Google Meet I'm not so comfortable. So can we see the slide now?
You can
Is
see
it
the
visible?
slide.
Case
You
one.
can see the slide. Yes, we can see. We can see.
Now we can see.
I'm not
Yes.
making it
Full
full
screen.
screen. Can I keep it like this or should I make
Yes.
it full screen?
This is okay.
You can
This
keep
is
it
okay.
like
Absolutely fine, Dr. Jyoti.
Yes.
So she's a second gravida, para 1, previous preterm at 32 weeks. So being as cautious as each one of us is, at 31 weeks, we gave her an antenatal steroid. That was Dexa 6 milligrams, 12 hourly for 4 doses. We were very happy she crossed 32 weeks, but then at 33 plus 2 weeks, she came to us with labor. So question, Dr. Jyoti, I need to ask you, should we given her a second course of steroids? She's already received 1 course of steroids at 31 weeks. 2 weeks have passed, she's 33 weeks. Do you think she needs a second course of rescue steroids?
Yes, Dr. Jyoti, I think we should be giving her a second course. Though she has crossed 32 weeks, which is the critical time for her, but still she is less than 34 weeks. And the dose given to her is almost 14 days prior now. And she's likely to deliver in next maybe 48 hours because she's already in labor. So considering these 3 points, I will go for a rescue course.
Okay. So the second thing that I would like to ask you is, Dr. Jyoti, that what exactly is the second course all about? Is it just a single dose of Dexa or Beta, or would you say that we need to repeat the whole course all over again?
Here I would like to say that the second dose, the rescue course, is same as the primary dose or the first dose. And this message should be very clear. And the dose is same, 6 milligrams 12 hourly for 4 such doses. Total of 24 is to be given.
So I think the take-home message from this particular case is that if we have given 1 dose, we can give them a single repeat course of antenatal steroid, provided we fulfill the 3 criteria, that she remains to be less than 34 weeks of pregnancy, she's likely to deliver in the next 7 days, and that the time elapsed since the last course has been more than 14 days. In such conditions, we are warranted and justified by all the international bodies if we give a single repeat course. So this patient was thus given a single and rightly given, and the dose is exactly the same as the first course that we have given. There's been studies which have shown that the rescue steroids, the repeat dose versus single, tends to reduce the risk of RDS by 16% and the serious health problems in the first week by nearly 17%. And hence, it is totally warranted to be able to give a rescue steroids. So coming to the next case, this is for you.
Dr. Jyoti, your slides are again not moving.
Again, not moving. I don't know, at the moment I go full screen, I think the slides.
Dr.
Is it,
It is moving, ma'am.
Now we can see.
No, it's
Yeah.
So I'll keep it I'll just keep it in this format. So Dr. Lal, this is for you. Now she's a primary twin pregnancy, DCDA pregnancy. So 27 weeks routine. There's a background noise with someone, we are having an echo. Yeah. So 27 weeks, she had a routine scan done by a fetal medicine person. And when they did the scan, they found that the cervical length was 14 millimeter and internal os was open. She rang me up, she sent the patient running to me. I put on a rescue cervical cerclage and I gave her antenatal steroids because I really did not know whether my cervical cerclage is going to work. But luckily, she managed and she reached 32 weeks. 32 weeks, she again came back to me and was admitted with pain abdomen. Since nearly 4 weeks had gone by, 5 weeks had gone by since the last steroid, and she was less than 34, I was warranted to give her a rescue dose, and I gave her a rescue dose. The God was again very kind, and the patient managed to pull through, and she reached 35 plus 3 weeks when she actually started having preterm labor. So the questions that I want you to answer, Dr. Lal, is this. Should we give her now yet another dose of rescue steroids because she's likely to deliver in the next 7 days? If a woman has received only a single dose of steroid, now this girl had received 2 doses before 34 weeks, but had been given only a single dose, and now she's 35 weeks, do you think we should give her another dose because she's a late preterm? And the third question, of course, is there a difference between a single and multiple pregnancy doses of antenatal steroids? Over to you, Dr. Lal.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Jyoti.
First of all, I would like to congratulate you that God is also great and you are also a great obstetrician. You were able to carry this pregnancy from 27 to 35 weeks.
Yes.
And that too multiple pregnancy. Now, coming to the dose of steroids, you have already given her 2 doses at 27 weeks and the second one is at 32 weeks. Now, multiple doses, all the guidelines say that multiple doses are not indicated. Though they have the advantage of maturing the lungs and decreasing the incidence of respiratory distress syndrome, but they have many detrimental arms attached to them. One of them is growth retardation, and the most serious one is multiple doses can lead to cerebral demyelination, and they can disturb the hypothalamo-pituitary adrenal axis also, and many other effects which later on in the childhood age we find that some children are with the hyperkinetic disorders, with aggressive behavior, with this destructive behavior. Though that is not, many studies are there, but some studies they show this. So multiple doses is totally no. We are not going to give a repeat steroid dose to a patient who has already received 2 doses of steroids. Now coming to the second question, if the woman has received antenatal corticosteroids less than 34 weeks, does she need to be given another in the late preterm? Yes. If she has been given only single dose in the late preterm also, steroids have been found to be beneficial in decreasing the mortality, morbidity, liquid visions, and respiratory distress syndrome. So in late preterm also, the dose has to be given. It's a yes. Now the third question is there a difference in antenatal corticosteroids in single and multiple pregnancies? Yes, ACOG says there is no difference. It defines that we should be giving antenatal corticosteroids from 24/07 to 33 plus 6 weeks, irrespective of the number of fetuses. So in single, twins or triplet, the dose is same.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lal. Probably the second question, we're going to discuss that later on again, the way we said that yes, she should not be given a dose, as you said, another dose of steroids should not be given because we have found increased risk of reduced birth weight. You have already talked about the cerebral demyelination, lung growth, and the function of the HP adrenal axis. So the multiple practice of giving weekly doses, which we did find some years back, that has to be totally abandoned. All we are allowed to give is only 2 doses. That is first initial and a rescue dose if she's less than 34 weeks of pregnancy. Now, the second question that you did say about this one is that this is again the same one that it says a repeat course can be given, but not more than 2. But if you look at the slides later on, which we're going to discuss later on, if a patient has been given before 34 weeks of pregnancy, 1 dose, then in the late preterm, ACOG clearly says it is not indicated. And as far as the single and the multiple is concerned, there's absolutely no difference. The dose is also the same. One should not think that if there are 2 children, then maybe instead of 12, let me give her 24. The dose is exactly the same. The single dose as well as rescue can be given, but in the late preterm, certain studies have said that in twins it may cause more harm than benefit, though yet the active study reports are awaited. So we really do not know about that, but yes, between 24 to 34 weeks, we are giving them single dose and if needed, a rescue dose. So coming on to the next case, this is Dr. Meenakshi for you. She's a primary IVF conception, 35 weeks of pregnancy. We got an ultrasound done for her and it was severe oligohydramnios. There was an IUGR. There was marked elevation of the PI of the umbilical artery and a brain sparing effect had started setting up. The fetal medicine person has rung you up and has told you that yes, you need to deliver this patient, do the NST and BPSM monitoring, and you need to deliver in 3 to 4 days. She has not received any antenatal steroids before. Should she be given an antenatal steroid? And when do you think you would like to schedule a delivery after the steroids? Dr.
Thank you, Dr. Jyoti ma'am, for this case. This is a patient who is conceived by IVF and she is at present at 35 weeks of pregnancy. The ultrasound showing Doppler changes and oligohydramnios, and we need to deliver it in within 3 to 4 days. This is the ideal time to give an antenatal corticosteroids. This patient had never received a steroid before 34 weeks.
So we should be giving an antenatal corticosteroid as it definitely decreases the respiratory morbidity and neonatal ICU admissions because of prematurity in late preterm. And as far as the delivery schedule, the best time for the anticorticosteroid efficacy is between 2 to 7 days after the first dose of anticorticosteroid. So that will be an ideal time. If we are planning for a delivery within 3 to 4 days, we should be giving an antenatal corticosteroid either today or the next day.
So that's perfect, Dr. Meenakshi. So if you look at the various guidelines, ACOG recommends, it strongly recommends that between 34 to 37 weeks, if a woman is at a risk of a preterm delivery in the next 7 days, we give her a course of antenatal, provided she has not received a previous course of antenatal steroids before 34 weeks. So this is the little catch that it says that there's no role of a rescue dose in the late preterm. Only the single dose can be given if she has not received before 34 weeks. RCOG and FIGO says consider. They're very, I think, diplomatic. They do not say recommend, they say consider. So it depends upon you. But if you take the ACOG guidance, yes, in late preterm, we need to give them if they've not received before. Various studies have shown that giving it in late preterm significantly reduces, as Dr. Meenakshi has said, but only one point you need to take care is that when we give it in late preterm, especially betamethasone, there are increased chances of neonatal hypoglycemia. So even the American Academy of Pediatrics has recommended that if betamethasone has been given in the late preterm, babies should be monitored for. Now, another point as far as the delivery is concerned, which Meenakshi has very clearly said that between 2 to 7 days, but in case I need to deliver her tomorrow, for whatever reasons, and I have not given her antenatal steroids, I should still continue to give her steroids because even if I have given her a single dose, the neonatal benefits start within few hours and it will definitely tend to have more benefit than not giving any dose because we think we do not have enough time. And this last pointer I would just like to, because this is something I also learned when I was reading that, in a late preterm, that is between 35 to 37 weeks of pregnancy, if a woman has clinical chorioamniotis, ACS not to be given. ACS, for being able to give an antenatal steroids, you should not delay the delivery if the delivery is recommended. If I need to deliver her today, I need to deliver her. I will not try and postpone the delivery by giving her tocolysis or by doing any other method because I need to give an antenatal steroids. That's the difference between 34, less than 34 and more than 35 weeks of pregnancy. So thank you so much. And we move on to the next case, Dr. Malshri. This is for you, our fetal medicine person. So it's another area which is very grey as far as the timing of steroids is concerned. She's a second gravida para 1 previous cesarean section, GDM on insulin. Not too well controlled, but yes, borderline control. And we have decided I need to deliver her at 38 weeks. Today she's 37 plus 3 weeks. And suddenly I remember that I have not given her steroids. Should I give her steroids? Because I'm going to deliver her between 37 to 39 weeks of pregnancy. So the question I want you to really address, which is still a very grey area, is that between 37 to 39 weeks of pregnancy, if for any reason we are going in for an elective cesarean section, is it recommended to give her ACS for the preventing neonatal morbidity?
Thank you so much, ma'am, for having me. Now, coming to your first question, if we need to give steroid at 37 weeks, now there is a conflicting recommendations from various societies which do not recommend, the RCOG, ACOG and WHO do not recommend steroid therapy at 37 plus weeks. But the FIGO says a single dose of steroid can be given at 37 weeks to 38 plus 6 weeks. If there is a clear indication of elective cesarean section. Now, ESTIC study, which was the antenatal steroid for the term elective cesarean section, the study clearly told us that there was a significant decrease in the respiratory distress syndrome and the NICU admissions on women who were given steroid therapy as a single dose post 37 weeks. There was a clear reduction from 5.2% in the treatment group versus the control group, in which it was seen as 11%. Even the Cochrane data recommends a single dose of steroid therapy can decrease a significant reduction in the RDS and NICU admission.
So, Dr. Molshi, what would your recommendation be as a fetal medicine? Would you tell your obstetrician to give it or not to give it?
If we are planning to extend, it needs to be there needs to be a clear indication. First of all, if suppose there is a decreased LICR and it's a borderline LICR, and if we want to extend it to 39 or 38 weeks, we advise them to give at least a single dose of steroid.
Single dose means a full course you're talking of. That
Yes,
is,
yes.
a full course of
Full
steroids.
course.
Okay. So if she's like, if this patient is a GDM, and we know somewhere or the other lung maturity may not be too great. So in GDM, would the recommendation increase for giving the steroids in these particular patients? And how would we like to give them steroids?
Those women who have diabetes in the antenatal period itself are at higher risk of medical and the obstetrical complications. So, and we know that the GDM, those who have not achieved the euglycemic status, the fetal lung maturity is delayed. So we recommend use of steroid, which decreases the NICU admissions and morbidity and mortality related to the preterm delivery. The only thing is there is no clear-cut guideline on how to manage the sugar in the diabetic patients during the pregnancy. What we ideally do is recommend is doing a glucose testing prior to the steroid therapy and post-therapy, at least 7 sample profiling to monitor the sugar. And then along with it, we have to advise the patient not only the insulin, not only the insulin which is required at the higher dose, but also the medical nutrition therapy. The diabetic diet should be started along with the insulin which is required at the higher dose.
So the thing is that GDM, if they are going to be given steroids, and if the GDM or diabetic would prefer to be admitted because they require more frequent monitoring, and because the steroids may increase the glucose, they may require an extra insulin. So we cannot just tell them that, yes, you take a steroid, they need to be very well monitored. So taking on to that particular one, so as Dr. Molshi has very clearly said, only FIGO says that you can consider. It doesn't say it's recommend. It uses again the word consider. So each one of us, according to our hospital, needs to make a protocol that between 37 to 39, we want to give the ACAs or not. And the best would be to shift our deliveries more towards 39 weeks, as you can see with this trial. As we move towards 39 weeks, the incidence of admission into NICU reduces to nearly 1.5% without a steroid. And in case we have given steroids to this particular, we further reduces by another 50%. So the decision is very gray area as compared to all other ones. We need to have to make our own protocols with this. And as far as the long-term effects are concerned, now this is the ASTIC 2 trial, which was looking at the long-term effects of giving these particular steroids. They have found and followed up babies till the age of 8 to 15 years. They found that there have been no adverse consequences, no neurological, developmental or behavioral disability, but they have found a subjective teacher evaluation that such children are found to have nearly about, they're less than 25% of the performance. So the thing is this, that they still say more studies are required before we can really comment about this particular aspect. But yes, we have to see the benefit and the risk as well. For the diabetes, whenever we tend to give the steroids, the glycemic effect starts nearly about 12 hours after the first dose and lasts up to 5 days. So such need to be monitored very well, and they can require an extra insulin. Thank you, Dr. Molshi. Now we come to case 5, having decided all the timings where we have to give ACAs. Now let's come to something that's more practical. So Dr. Jyoti, this is a second gravida para 1. She had a previous normal delivery. 32 weeks, she actually came to us in active labor. And you immediately rang up the JC and said, she's in active labor, you just give her the first dose before I reach the hospital. And she was given the first dose of Dexa, 6 milligrams given. When you did a PV, about 4 hours later, you saw that she was now 6 centimeters. And most probably being a second gravida, previous normal delivery, anyone would say that maybe in the next 1 to 2 hours, she's likely to deliver. The question that comes to each one of our minds, should I give her another dose of Dexa? Maybe the lungs are going to get a little better. So what do you really think is the role of an accelerated dose? Should we give her another dose now? The next dose is otherwise scheduled 12 hours later. So Dr. Jyoti, to you, your experience.
Dr. Jyoti, there is really no need to give a second dose. We have already given her 1 dose and she's likely to deliver in next 1 or 2 hours. Whatever effect has to come will start coming with this first dose, and there is really no indication or no use of any accelerated dose. So I will not give a second dose. I will just deliver the baby, and whatever benefit has to come will come with the first dose. The first dose has already been given, and the benefit starts within few hours. So hopefully the benefit will be there.
Yes, very rightly said, and I think this is a temptation we all need to withhold. As Dr. Jyoti has clearly said, it's not going to make an extra benefit. So don't rush to give her a second dose. The dose remains the same. Dexa 6 milligrams, 4 doses, 12 hourly. Betamethasone 12 milligrams, 2 doses, 24 hours. Here, a little thing I would just like to add, because the Dexa that we get is 8 milligrams. So the dose that they say is 6 milligrams. So we have an option of discarding the 2 milligram dose, that's about 0.5 ml. Or the other option is that keep saving all the 0.5 ml if she's in your hospital. And 1 dose probably you can give her later on, that will be about approximately 6 milligrams. And here I would like the opportunity again, Dr. Neha had very clearly stated this, but yes, I would like to state, because this is one of the very important clinical points we need to take home, that the betamethasone that we get is not the source that all studies have been done with. The betamethasone that we are getting is the betamethasone phosphate, which is not same as the betamethasone acetate phosphate, which is known to be effective. So if we are giving betamethasone in India, in our country, then we need to give it as 6 milligrams, 12 hourly for 4 doses over a period of 24 hours. If we are not ready for that, then better, safer, give a dexamethasone to that particular patient. So, Dr. Archana, if you would, this question is only because this is a fetal medicine question that we all need her to answer that. She's a primary spontaneous conception of monochorionic twins. She's been continuously monitored from 16 weeks onwards by the fetal medicine. There's more than 25% discordancy between the two twins. So I'm very happy that every 2 weeks she's going to you to get monitored. But I'm also inclined that at 32 weeks, should I give her a steroid? She may need to be delivered in the next 1 week. Anytime you're likely to ring me up, Kaj Doppler is not all right, you give a steroid. So I'm extremely tempted. I keep calling you back again. Should I give her a steroid? Should I give her a steroid? And you keep telling me withhold. You're not going to give the steroid at all. Finally, at 34 weeks, you have rung me up to say that Doppler changes have now come. Now you need to deliver her. Give her steroids, and 2 days later, you deliver. This is a huge tension for me. I need to admit her, give her steroids, continuously go in for NST monitoring, CTG monitoring. Otherwise, I could have delivered her today itself. So any particular she as a fetal medicine person that you do not allow us to give the steroids unless and until indicated.
Shall I answer?
Yeah, Dr. Malshri, this is for you, please.
Okay, so we know whenever we give steroids, there is always a decrease in the fetal movements and the fetal and the maternal position of those fetal movements. But along with that, first I would like to know in this question how was the Doppler when you decided to give the steroid therapy?
The Doppler of them, the PI of the umbilical artery had really increased very high, and the MCA was coming down. There was a little mild brain sparing effect coming up. So she said that now it's time enough. The weights are decent. You can deliver them.
So whenever we talk about that there is increase in or there is increase in the resistance, from that point to the reversal of the flows, it takes roughly around 2 to 3 weeks. We get worried much about it, but it takes roughly 2 to 3 weeks for it to go to reversal. So when we talk about why we shouldn't give steroid, and the only reason which could it be is that due to the decreased fetal movements and the decreased variability in the CTG post-steroid therapy, there is higher chance of intervention. But along with it, there is also what we see is there is improvement in the Doppler flow, which are always transient, which stays for a week or so, which makes us complacent and gives a false sense of security. So it is all about the counseling, to the patient and to the obstetrician, that we should not get worried much about it if you're feeling decreased movement or decreased variability on the CTG, and we should also not get the false sense of security that the Dopplers are getting better. post that we should maintain the same protocol of weekly blockers in case if there is a discordance of at least 25% in the twins for selective FGR.
Yeah. So I think the point very well taken, because just day before yesterday, one of my twin patients, I had given her antenatal steroids because I was likely to deliver after a week. She was 36 weeks. And on Saturday I gave her, Sunday I gave her, Monday she was in my clinic. That baby named Madam Ekdam baby nahi kar rahi. She was an IVF twins. So I realized we got an NST done for her. That was perfectly fine. Ultrasound Dopplers were all right. We reassured her and sent her back. But this is a definite problem that we all as obstetricians tend to mean, that we do not intervene without any reason, because they do have a decreased perception of the movements, the body and the breathing movements, and a reduction in the fetal heart variation, though no negative changes of the Dopplers have been found to be seen. So this is one of the very important points that we need to take in. And this patient was very well monitored by fetal medicine. So there was no scare. We knew every 2 weeks she's going there and they're going to tell us exactly when we need to deliver. So coming to the next case, Dr. Archana, if you would like to come on to this particular case. So she's a primary. I think there's a lot of echo. She's a primary 32 weeks pregnancy. She was admitted 2 weeks ago. She had pain abdomen. She was reassured, sent back home. She went back home. Now again, 2 weeks later, she comes back to me with labor pains and again pain abdomen. We did an NST. NST did show mild uterine irritability. PV was done, os was closed, soft, 20% effaced and posterior. So Dr. Archana, I would like you to answer this. Should I give her a steroid now? She's come to me the second time. I don't know whether she is likely to deliver. Should I give her steroids at this moment?
Thank you very much for asking this question. See, I think around 20% of the patients, I think 50% of the patients would resolve with preterm contractions on their own. Only I think 10% of them go into frank preterm labor and they deliver. So I think, but this patient, I think for my peace of mind, I think I would like to give her corticosteroids and, be at rest. And I would give her a proper full course of, antenatal steroids. Because I don't know, because she's coming first time with pains and then I reassured her and sent her back, and second time when she's coming and the CTG is showing some kind of uterine irritability, I think I would consider giving her steroid coverage.
So Dr. Poonam, would you have a difference of opinion, or you would also like to give her steroids?
Thank you.
Ma'am, I have a different opinion. Because early also she came with the irritable uterus. She was reassured, she settled, and she was fine for 2 weeks. Again, she has come in irritable uterus, 20% effaced, posterior os, and most of them, they might resolve. They might be having some infection. I will investigate urine culture, HBS, everything I will send, give her antibiotics. Let's see if she resolves. I would not like to give her steroid at this moment.
So I think the main play for this particular patient lies in our counseling. So first we need to take away our fear, and then we need to counsel the patient very well, because this one with an os closed 20%, as Dr. Archana rightly said, that 30% of them will resolve spontaneously without us doing anything. Another 50% have been found to deliver without tocolysis near term. It is only 10% to actually deliver in the next 7 days. And for that particular 10% to be steroids to the 100, I think that is not too warranted. So such a patient, probably we may admit the patient, we would look for other causes of infection, as Dr. Lal very clearly said. Maybe she has UTI, maybe she has an irritable bowel, she may have any other particular factor. So we need to first take care of that. And if in 24 hours we find she progresses, she becomes 3 centimeters, or we would say that the labor has advanced, we would definitely give a steroid. So the aim of this particular case is to withhold ourselves a little unless we're too sure that she's got into antenatal steroids, not just send back home, follow up this particular patient, and when needed, to give her the steroids. So Dr. Meenakshi, this case is for you. Now she's a 33 weeks PPOR. She was admitted for conservative management. She was given antenatal steroids. She was managed with bed rest, with absolute in the hospital. Patient was ready to pay up all the bills, and you pulled her up to 33 weeks, and 33 weeks she goes into labor. The question I want to ask you first, that PPORM, who are very prone to develop infections, should they be given a steroid, even if they are 30 weeks?
Yes, ma'am. And this patient who presented with PPORM at 30 weeks had received the first course of corticosteroids. And then she was able to be pulled through till 33 weeks, and again she goes in preterm labor. She has high chances of landing up in preterm delivery. And antenatal corticosteroid, a single rescue dose, will still be beneficial if there are no frank chorioamnionitis. Antenatal corticosteroid, a rescue dose, has found to be beneficial even when there was a subclinical evidence of chorioamnitis was present. But in cases of frank chorioamnitis, the endogenous steroid in the baby itself leads to the maturity of the fetal lung, and the benefit of respiratory morbidity and RDS in the baby. The benefit of the corticosteroid is not there at all in frank chorioamnitis, and in fact, the risk is there. So if we have to assess the patient, if there are no evidence of frank chorioamnitis, I would go for a rescue steroid for this patient. And if there are any signs of frank chorioamnitis, I will not be giving her the corticosteroids.
Okay. So very well said to us that even if they are PPORM, we can give them the first dose and even if required, a rescue dose. But the only thing I would like to add over here, as far as the ACOG committee opinion of 173, that's the latest committee opinion, says, whether to administer a repeat or a rescue course of steroids in preterm PPORM is still controversial. And there is insufficient evidence to make a recommendation for or against. So there is, as far as the guidelines are concerned, at present for a rescue dose in the PPORM, it is still controversial. But at present, we have enough evidence to say that if needed, we should be able to give it if there's no evidence of any chorioamnionitis. So the call is yours. You can take a particular call. Neither is correct, neither is wrong. There's no way to really contradict what you have given. The clinical parameter, that is what matters. So this is now coming to the last case. I think we're running a little behind. Maybe it's just the last one. Dr. Poonam, this is for you. She's a second gravida, para 1, 32 weeks pregnancy. She came to us in early labor and we did a fibronectin test and that was positive. That means she's likely to deliver within the next 7 days. When I did take a history, I realized that she had had COVID 1 month back and she was giving Medrol 32 milligrams per day, which is slowly reduced and it was just stopped 1 week back. The question that I really thought to myself was, she's already received so much of steroid. Do I now need to give her an antenatal steroid? Because she warrants, she's between 24 to 34 weeks of pregnancy, likely to go in for delivery. So what is your opinion? Should we give her an antenatal steroid or would the steroid work good enough?
Yeah, I would like to thank Dr. Neha. She has already explained this in the last slide of her lecture. I think I would like to give her a short course of this steroids, antenatal corticosteroids, because methylprednisol, which she was given, that is very low placental delivery. So that is not going to cause the fetal lung maturity. For fetal lung maturity, we need to give a dexamethasone course, full course.
Yes. I think that is the most important point we all need because it's a COVID era. We don't know the third wave is coming or not coming. We need to really change our particular practice, even if they have been found to be on this. The take-home message is that you need to give them a short course of dexamethasone to accelerate lung maturity because methylprednisolone does not cross the placenta. It is mainly for the mother. With that, we come to the end. And I would just like to put on some good practice points that I have actually learned over the preparing for this panel. First of all, we all need to really remove the fear, the gripping fear of preterm delivery, so that we are able to time our antenatal steroids at the right time because maximum benefit of steroid comes if the delivery is going to take place within the next 7 days. Even in the later, that is between 35 to 37 weeks, we need to give them antenatal steroids, provided they have not received a steroid before 34 weeks of pregnancy. Betamethasone to be given as the same schedule as the dexamethasone because of the type of compound that's available. We are hoping the better compound will soon be available in the country, and there is no benefit at all of accelerated dosing. So I felt this quote really goes well with our particular one is, let us get into the habit of asking ourselves, each time we are going to give an antenatal steroid, this dose of antenatal steroid, is it going to support the life I'm trying to create? And if it is, I should not think twice and give her the antenatal steroid. So I really need to thank my panelists. They have done an excellent job. I think it is all from their own learning, their guidelines, and their clinical practice that we have been able to share this. They all have significantly contributed in making this particular panel. And I thank Dr. Seema as well as Dr. Archana and the whole team for giving us this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Wonderful panel moderator, wonderful panelist. It was so, I think I'm enlightened and everybody here. And you see, almost 60 people have joined till end. So it is wonderful. Great credit to you all. Thank you very much, all of you. And Ashna, if you want to say something.
No, it was a very enlightening panel, no doubt about it. The thing is that we have to hammer it in our heads again, time and again, what the recommendations are. So if you keep on, hearing it all the time, then probably it brings home the message. Thank you so much, Dr. Jyoti, and thank you all the panelists. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you and congratulations once again to all of you.
Yes.
And
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Jane. Thank
It's
you.
been a great day. Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
We'll keep meeting. This webinar has created good things. We can connect with each other.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you very much.
स्वाति लेट आई, पूनम लेट आई। नहीं, पूनम आ गई थी।
यस, मैं तो बिल्कुल शुरू से थी। हाँ, दिख नहीं रही थी। मेरा वीडियो ऑन नहीं था।
स्वाति तू कहाँ थी?
मेरा भी कैमरा ऑफ था मैम, मैं was here.
अच्छा, चलो ठीक है। All the best, congratulations to all of you.
थैंक यू सीमा।
हाँ।
सीमा गाइड करना है, कैसे करना है सब आपको,
बिल्कुल,
ठीक है?
मैं तो advisor हूँ।
और सबने साथ देना है।
हाँ, सबने साथ मिलके चलना है।
सबने साथ मिलके चलना है।
मेघा, तुम दोनों बहुत अच्छे से कर लोगे। बाकी स्वाति है, उर्वशी कहाँ रह गई? उर्वशी की तबीयत ठीक नहीं है?
उर्वशी इज नॉट वेल, उसने मैसेज दिया था। हाँ, शी इज नॉट,
चलो कोई बात
बट शी विल हैंडल थिंग। हाँ,
नेक्स्ट ठीक है।
या श्योर।
अब हमें
ओके,
पहले
थैंक यू।
रिसर्च का टॉपिक दे दो। अब हम एक रिसर्च शुरू करेंगे। मेघा, वी हैव टू स्टार्ट। एक स्टडी करनी है हमें, एक पब्लिकेशन डेफिनेटली विद इन 3 months, है ना? ओके, बाय बाय, सी यू ऑल।
ओके, बाय बाय। लो डोज पे कर लो, लो डोज मैक्सेल्फ पे कर लो। मैक्सेल्फ यूज होता ज्यादा।
हाँ, इन प्रीटर्म लेबर?
नहीं, प्रीटर्म लेबर नहीं, एक्लेम्सिया में लो डोज।
वो एक लक्ष्य तो हमें मिलेंगे, तुम्हारा हेल्प लेनी पड़ेगी।
अच्छा, नहीं मिले, कोई बात नहीं। और टॉपिक्स बहुत से अच्छे
हमारे पास जो आते हैं
डॉक्टर मेघा बताएंगे। डॉक्टर
मेघा तो आईवीएफ पे ले लेगी। मेरे को एक पॉइंट जो अभी इस वाली मीटिंग से उसमें हुआ, क्लेफ्ट पैलेट एंड क्लेफ्ट लिप, है ना? तो वी हैव टू जस्ट गिव स्ट्रेस कि वी शुड नॉट गिव स्टेरॉइड्स बियॉन्ड 9 weeks of gestation. In all IVF हमारे पेशेंट्स में ना, IVF पेशेंट में वी कैरी नॉर्मली देते ही हैं स्टेरॉइड्स। तो दिस इज आई थिंक लर्निंग, वी शुड मेक अ पॉइंट नॉट बियॉन्ड 9 weeks. ठीक है, चलो ओके, बाय बाय। बाय।